what are you most proud of? And Steve said, the number of things that I've said no to. And he said, the more things that you say no to brings you closer to the things that are important, and it keeps you focused on the right things. And it's like, wow, who would have ever thought of being proud of the things that you said no to? Yet that no is what simplifies things down.
Indeed. Indeed.
You probably know that Herbie Hancock did a piece. Is it Cantaloupe
Island?
Cantaloupe Island. It's a beautiful little piece that I had not heard that till about maybe 4 years ago. And it was the first time I heard it, and I was like, oh my God, I love this little piece. It's just beautiful. Beautiful.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And I would dare say that's definitely one of his more popular, recognizable tunes.
Oh, yeah.
And, it's one of the simpler tunes.
It is. That's what I was getting at. It's real simple. I was going to ask you, as a person who creates all the time, I think we all have a genius inside of us. And it's trying to get that genius to come out. And that genius could be in any number of different forms, whoever the person is. But I sometimes getting that genius to come out is just, it's difficult. But the more you do, every once in a while, you'll get what almost you consider to be a masterpiece. And you look back on it and you go, well, where did that come from? Where did that, what was it that, but they come occasionally, and they don't come very often, but they come on occasion. And I'm sure you've noticed it, that on occasion that you'll just have a masterpiece, a piece that you just knock out of the park.
Yeah, I guess for me, number one, I always have to separate the fact that just because I really love something doesn't mean everybody else is gonna really love it. But there have definitely been, songs that I've written when I go back, I'm like, man, where, like you said, where did that come from? And I think, at least for me, I know there are times where, especially if, like you said, if you're creating a lot, that you, at some point, something just hits you. And it's like this, because for me, I feel like a lot of times when I'm writing, it's like I have the idea of a song and I can write it, and then I kind of get stuck. I'm like, okay, I'm not sure where I want to go, but I feel like on certain times you get hit with this thing to where it's like from start to finish, it's just this endless ideas, and you seem to have a clarity about where exactly you're trying to go.
Absolutely.
And it just comes from start to finish.
Yeah.
Even if it takes, a week or 3 months.
I've also seen, this is something that really made me appreciate. Sometimes I worry about, okay, do I need to get this done this week or something? And you get caught up in this kind of, and then I read something recently that Leonardo da Vinci, his famous Mona Lisa, he had that in his possession when he died. He had it for 20 years because he was still touching up on it every once in a while. And I thought, my goodness, if Leonardo da Vinci could spend 20 years on a piece, it doesn't matter if I work on a piece and let it sit for 3 months and then come back to it. You know what I mean? It's just, you can do whatever you want with it.
Indeed.
And I think giving yourself that freedom to do that really, really helps. To me, the creative process, anxiety is what keeps the creative process bundled down.
Yes.
And you have to let go of it, whether you meditate, whatever it is that you have to do to get that off of you, then you're free to be able to express. And so a lot of times, if you work on a piece and you come to a certain point in it and it's like, okay, I've got this much of it really nice, but I'm dead here, let it sit. Let it sit, because the brain will sit there and it'll percolate in the back. Yeah. It'll percolate in the back of the mind, and then all of a sudden, a week, 2 weeks, 3 months, boom, there it is. Diane, she worked on a song with Donald about 3 years ago. She got it to where she liked it some, but she wasn't real happy with it. She brought it back up not more than 2 weeks ago, redid the whole thing in one night. And it's really nice. It's really nice.
Yeah.
So, funny how that is.
Indeed. Yeah, that makes me think. I think another thing that music has really taught me is how to trust the process even when there's not a definitive end goal.
Amen to that. Amen to that.
Yeah, I think.
And because you don't worry about the end goal, you can start out here, and it can suddenly spawn off 3 children over here, and spawn off 1 here, and you're still working on this one. And it's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, but all right. So let's go ahead and do the advice for young people.
Advice for young people. One, I think probably one of the best things I could tell a young person is to be fearless. And also be careful of what I call goop, good opinion of other people. Be careful that other people, they will oversteer you, or you have to be careful with that. You don't want to be trying to please everybody. You want to be talking, you want to be letting your genius come out, and you don't want to let a lot of stuff get in the way or people to steer it a whole lot. So that's probably the most important thing, would be fearless, be authentic, and let your genius come out. Those would be the things I would think.
All right. What would be 5 pieces of advice for anyone deciding to be an artist?
Oh my goodness. Well, I chose the commercial route because you couldn't sell much fine art back when I did it. So I'm going to have to suggest that we go that way to start out with. And I think the learning process on that's really good. As I think about it, Andy Warhol, the first 20 years of his work was all commercial work. And then he exploded into all the fine art that he did. But it was that repetition and learning, and I think it's the same thing with the Beatles. Somebody told me the Beatles had something like 10,000 hours of practice and music all the time before they really broke out and got loose. So to me, starting out, as much work as you can do at the beginning to produce your craft and to get better at your craft as soon as you can. I think the second thing is you're going to have to think about your network. Start to find people who are successful that can help affect you. And in particular, I would think mentors, if possible. Find a mentor who's really gifted at what it is that you want to do, and find a way to follow that person and get advice from that person. Luck is always going to be involved in it, whether you want it to be or not. Luck is going to be part of the 5. But what was it that Vince Lombardi said? He said, "When a well-prepared man meets opportunity, others call it luck." So again, we're back to work that craft as much as you can and just expect that opportunity to come. I think the other thing is how you project visually, what you think about all the time. Don't project failure. Project something positive. Project what it is that you want to do and work toward that. So use visualization to help you get what it is that you're trying to go after. Is that 4 or is that 5?
I think that was 5.
Okay.
All right. And
do you ever use that?
Do I ever use what?
Visualization.
Yeah. Not as often as I should, because it seems to.
The more you do it, the faster it works.
The funny thing is, like, I feel like whenever I'm conscious of it, I do it, and it helps a ton. But somehow within the stress of life,
I call it the crisis du jour. It just keeps you. And you know what I try to define to people. And this, being a musician that you are, you might appreciate this. The activity of every day to me is almost like white noise. It just aggravates you, and it keeps you from where it is that you want to be most of the time. And you have to quiet your spirit and get through that to be able to walk,
Indeed.
And then visualize what it is that you want to try to do.
And I feel like every 3 or 4 months I have to kind of remind myself. I'm like, I'm getting into this space again where I'm not being positive, and I have to reset. And
well, I've been reading some things about negativity and how our mind. First of all, we're fear-based. All right, and our society is fear based, and you really want to be love based. You don't want to be fear based, okay? But if you look at the news, it just projects fear, and all it wants to do is hook you into the fear. I don't care which side of the fence you sit on; they're trying to hook you into fear, and then that's because it's the emotion that is the highest. The reason is fear is the one that would keep us from being eaten by a predator. So that's why fear is so strong. But you have to get the fear down, and you have to be able to get off of it and be able to let love be what it is that projects,
Yeah.
So